Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. And today I have 3 cards for you from my Simple to Simply Stunning series. I've already made 2 of the cards and I'm going to show them to you and tell you what I did, and then we're going to make the last one together. So let's just get started. Okay, so here are 2 of my cards. And I'll start with this one. This is using the Blossoms in Bloom stamp set, which I used the other day to show you a card, and I've just been messing with it more and more. And so I have this stamp that I put on my Stamparatus, and I did these colors in Mango Melody and one of the new in colors, Magenta Madness. And I did these colors, and I'm going to show you on the Stamparatus how I stamped this, and I stamped it the same for 3 cards, and I'll show you how I came up with this. This is 1 stamping and you get 2 cards out of it. And it's a little bit stepped up from this one. This is a single layer card with the stamping in those pretty colors. And then I just put lots of greenery around it. I did some splatters around it. And on the inside, I did a little bit more of the stamping. And so that's that card. Now this one, what I did was I stamped this image on a piece of paper that was 4 by 5 1/4, and then I took, because it's 4 inches, and I divided it and I cut that piece of paper in half, and then I backed each of those halves with a little bit of Mango Melody, and then the green that I'm using on all of these cards is Mossy Meadow. And so I created 2 cards out of that second stamping. And this one is a happy birthday card. This one is a get well, which is stamped pretty crooked there. So when you do yours, you make sure you stamp that straight. And then on this one, I used the die to cut out a couple of these little flowers, and then in the Mango Melody, and then I just used a dauber with the Magenta Madness to go around the edges here to get that color. And I'm pretty pleased with the way that those came out. Anyway, I've got several of those there. And so both of these are done the same. I put splatters on this one. I didn't put splatters around this card. I did this one happy birthday, this one thinking of you. This one has those 2 in it, and this just has stamped images in it. And I'll show you exactly what I did to make those. Now for this last card, I don't yet have a sample because I haven't made it up. So we are going to make this one together, and I am starting with a piece of Mossy Meadow that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. And let me just give that a burnish. And then I have a piece of white that is roughly 4 by 5 1/4. Actually, I have 2 of those pieces for this card. This one for the inside is a little bit smaller. It's 3 3/4 by 5, and then the one for the outside is 4 by 5 1/4, and we're going to stamp it and then cut it down. So then I used the 3D embossing folder from from Ornate Floral 3D embossing folder, and I ran the front piece of this card through that embossing folder. Isn't that pretty? It gives such pretty raised relief on this. Very, very attractive, I thought. So let me show you the most important thing to learn about all three of these cards and the one we're going to make is the stamping. So I have my stamp set up on my Stamparatus, and it's not dissimilar to the card that I did the other day. Now you need also some scrap, depending on which of these you're doing, in Mossy Meadow and Mango Melody. But for this, we're going to take this card and we're going to tuck it here in the corner and put a magnet on it. And I think we're pretty safe right up here in this corner. Yep. Although I think maybe I'll use this one because it's got a shorter tail. And I'm going to set that just like that and make sure that's tucked right in the corner. And then I'm using my Mango Melody, and I'll show you here, using my Mango Melody across the whole stamp, and then getting that piece stamped into place on my card front. As I look at that, I think I want this a tiny bit this way. So I'm going to push that in about 1/4 of an inch and put my magnet back and do my stamping. Okay, so there we go. That is the Mango Melody. And I want to make sure I don't move that. It looks like I need to put some more pressure on the inside. Sometimes, depending on your Stamparatus, when you stamp real close to the edges, it can give you a little bit of a problem. I can see here I've got a little extra piece of paper, but I don't think that's going to influence us here again. So I'm going to stamp this again in Mango Melody because I want a really good image down in that color. And I'm going to put some pressure on my stamp and try to get this a big stamp, so you want to make sure you get pressure all the way along. And then I'm going to carefully pick that up, and there we go. Now you're beginning to see what that looks like when it's really stamped well. Now this time I'm going to do that again. I'm going to put the Mango Melody down, and then I'm going to follow along with the Magenta Madness, just like I did in that card where I did it in purples and reds. And I'm going to go right around the edges of all of the flowers. Making sure I get all of those edges, and then dab a little bit on the centers of those flowers. All right, now I'm going to stamp this again. Thank goodness for a Stamparatus. Okay, and hopefully I've got that now, that pretty Magenta Madness. And I'm going to use my pokey tool to help hold my paper down because I really don't want that to move. There, we're starting to get that pretty color. So I'm going to do that again. This time I'm not going to add the Mango Melody. I'm only going to do the highlights here of the Magenta Madness. And I love the orange with the reds or the bright pinks because it makes kind of a interesting copper color. And I think it's very, very pretty. Okay, another time here, stamping down and getting that piece on there. Okay. All right, let's see what we've got. There we go. Now I've got all of those colors in there, and I can actually highlight a little bit more of this magenta madness around on some of these flowers if I choose to, and I'm going to add just a touch here or there. Okay, there we go. And so now that is all I need my Stamparatus for. So I'm going to take my card piece out of there. I'm going to clean this up a little bit because that will stain my pad, and I really don't want that to happen. So I'm going to clean this up and get some of that color off of the stamp and the Stamparatus. And in fact, just to make sure, I'll probably just put this little piece of scratch paper in here, and that'll keep that protected. Okay, so here we have our pretty piece. And let me show you the stamp set again here. Blossoms in Bloom, and we've just used this very large stamp here. And then there are smaller ones here that match these that I die cut out. And there's leaves and a center, and I am going to put a center in on my flowers, and I'm going to use soft suede for that. And this can be turned any which direction you like so that it fits the center of these flowers, because some of them are narrower and some of them different shapes here, and you just want to get the basic thing in the middle. There we go. All right. So next what I did was I ran my front cover of my card through that embossing folder, the ornate floral, and then what I did was the dies for this. Let me show you a little bit about the dies. The dies for this, I ended up using this outline die. Now, there are several dies in this set. This one, which is quite a bit larger, and I did cut, well, it's thicker. I guess the flower pieces are thicker. And I did cut one just so that I could show you what it looked like. So when this one is cut, this is what you get. Isn't that pretty? And so you could put that detail over the top of your flower and get something kind of interesting. Now, what I did was I used this one. And this little die cuts a delicate little outline of the flower. So let me show you what that one cuts. I've already cut mine, and it cuts this. Isn't that just gorgeous? And I'm not going to lay this down because I've got sticky on the back of it already. But you can see what we're going to get when we put this over the top of this. Now, it isn't as dramatic as I wanted it. So what I did was I used my scissors and I fussy cut out this image. And this is what it looks like. So I have this image fussy cut out and plan to use, I'm not going to use this die in this card, but I did want you to see what that looked like. I am going to put this image on the front of this card, and I've already got some dimensionals on it, so it's raised a bit. And then I have a couple of these flowers that already have a dimensional on it that I want to go on this card as well. So on this one, what we have, I have to take my image here, this image, and decide how that is. I think it goes this way. Yeah, this way. And so I've got this ready to go on the front of here, and then we'll put that down on the card. So I have my silicone mat here, and I'm going to add some more. I'm using my dot runner and putting some snail on the back of my die cut piece. And I'm actually putting quite a bit down because this has got very tiny little spaces to get glue down on, with the exception of these leaves. And so this, and what I did was I went in between these two flowers here and I cut out that inner piece, and I went in between these two pieces here and cut out that interior. Now on these two, what I did was I put a dimensional on the back of that, so that would hold that together. I couldn't really put one on this one because, as you can see through it, and I didn't want that dimensional to show through. But this one I was able to do it and not have anything show through. Okay, so this is ready to go on here, and it's a very close fit, pretty true to the stamped image. And there we go. Isn't that fun? Now then, I have these two flowers here that are going to go on this right in here, and they also fit that image, and so I'm going to put that in place there and put this one in place down here. Let's see, I think I've got that turned around. There we go. It goes like that. Press those into place, and then I'm going to take off all of these dimensional backs and fit that on my card. All right, then it is a matter of getting this on here, and it really does take up the whole card front, and put that down so the green shows through except for where the flower goes. And isn't that just gorgeous? Oh, I think it's so pretty. And it's a little fussy to cut this out, but really not bad because it's not terribly intricate. And I love the result. And this was sort of the idea that I had that I wanted to do on this one. Okay, now for the inside of this card, I have these two pieces that I'm going to layer together. Oh, I should be using the other snail. For those of you that hadn't watched before, this is the new Stampin' Seal, and I have found that if you can grab the tape by laying your tape runner down this way with this flat part sort of against the card, and then as you finish your row, you pick this up and check off. What that does is it moves that tape down to the very bottom, and it's real easy to pick up again. I've struggled with it a little bit at the beginning, and so I fiddled with it until I figured it out. Okay, so this piece is going to go on here, centered, And then I have a couple more of these flowers that I cut out. And so I'm just going to dauber the edges of those flowers and the center a little with the Magenta Madness, and then put some snail on the back of these flowers and set these down on the inside of the card. And then I have this very small little leaf that is part of this stamp set, and I'm going to stamp a few leaves in Mossy Meadow around these two flowers. And I suppose I could do the leaves before I put the flowers down, but this isn't an exact science. And I just really want to get a little greenery down. Then I'm going to use my blender pen, not that one, this one. And I'm going to blend the color on those leaves out a little bit. I'm not crazy about the waffle pattern that leaves behind. And if you just use a blender pen, you can blend those out and your leaf gets to be a little brighter and a little bit more realistic looking, more like it might have been watercolored. And then it's just a matter of taking any ink off the tip of that blender pen, and then it's ready to go again. So now what we have is this piece ready to go on the inside of our card. And so I'm going to do what I did before. And get this piece set on the inside of my card. And there we go. The only thing I would say is when I put this card front into the embossing folder, in order to get it as close to the edge as I could, I had to it was a little misshapen. So it probably could stand to have another burnish here just on the edges to get it to stay closed the way we want it. Now, as far as a sentiment is concerned, then I did this little but you know, I really don't like it. I don't think I want it in there. I think maybe what I might do is put my message on the inside here. And what I put on here is, "Sure do miss you." And there's a lot of people that could go to right now. I am missing meeting with my friends and getting together with people so much. So I could put my "Sure do miss you" on the inside. It's got such beautiful character on the outside. I kind of hate to mess with it. So I'm going to put my "Sure do miss you" right up here at the top of my card on the inside. There we go. And there we have our project for the day. So let me bring back, I showed you how to do the stamping on this piece, and that is what I did on the front of this card, which is my single layer card. Oh, and by the way, I used the sequins from the Whale of a Time sequin mix. There's this pretty metallic green in there, and that worked. And you could also use the green from our holiday rhinestone designs. That green, I think, would work with this reasonably well. And this little gold on here would work. And in fact, I did use that on one of these other cards. So this is the single layer one, and all I did was just layer with a little tiny bit of a mask around the edges here to put those leaves in and do a little of that stamping on the inside. And so that is the simple card. And then the next card, I did that same stamping and put the leaves around just like I did on this one. And then I cut that piece in half right down the center of that card. And what you can do is trim it real close to the edges here, get your size and cut it right in half. And then these two I backed in Mango Melody and then in Mossy Meadow. And it had the twine going this way on this one and this way on this one. Made this one Happy Birthday and this one Thinking of You. Now this used the rhinestones from the Holiday Rhinestone. No, this one used the one from the Holiday Rhinestone, and this one I used the Champagne Rhinestones. And again, this one on the inside has that same effect as the final card, and this one has that stamped image on the inside. So, and actually, this might have gone better on one of these cards. It just didn't work for this final one. So, here is the simple, and then the middle ground, and with one bunch of stamping, you can get 2 cards out of it. And then this one, which we're calling the Simply Stunning. And I just love the way this one came out. And really, when you think about it, it's just this one layer, and then our flower, and the outline here. Now, these leaves are kind of loose on here, and you might see if you could tuck a little dimensional underneath a couple of those spots where the leaves are there to lift those and support them. But I'm really tickled with this. I love the way it came out. And again, simple to simply stunning 3 cards. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. And or you could join my team. We had a lady just join the other day, and she was spending enough when she put her initial order together. She said, I better do this in order to get the discounts. So that's what she did. And I couldn't be happier to have her on my team. Let's see. This month is my prize is the Birds and Branches bundle out of the new catalog, the annual catalog. And the other news this month is, let's see, there's a couple of things. Paper Pumpkin is getting ready to come out. You can get onto that by the 10th of the month. This is July 2020. And there is an add-on for that one that gives you more card making ability. And I will be getting that add-on, and when I do my Paper Pumpkin alternatives, I can show you about that. The other thing is it's now bonus days. So for every $50 you spend in July, you're going to get a $5 coupon that you can redeem in August. And August is when the new Christmas catalog comes out. And it's got lots of really beautiful things in it. And I'll be starting to work from that catalog very soon. If you follow me, you know I start my Christmas cards in August. And if you stick with me, we'll do 2 or 3 different Christmas cards all the way through December. And I will have many designs that I'll put in place for Christmas cards. So that's it for me today. Thank you so much for stopping by. I do so appreciate it. And I'll be back soon with more cards, more tips, and more projects. Bye.